RWBY Volume 6 finale, Our Way. So, of course, as always, I'm playing the episode on my TV. That way I don't miss any of the points about, all the good that we got from this finale, as well as some of the not so good. But we will start with some of the good stuff, because I will say, just to kind of right off the top, this was not my favorite finale. This actually was, without a doubt, my least favorite finale, because there was nothing in this that I thought was the, most epic thing ever. Other episodes were better, I feel, this volume. And that's happened in other volumes as well, but I at least always think the finale was holy crap, that was super cool. I did love the ending song. I think this is probably one of the first times I was okay, they introduced the ending song, and I was this is probably my favorite full ending song, because I thought Nevermore was actually really good. But going off with the good, we actually have the very beginning of this episode, which is Neo and Cinder have new outfits, which I thought was super cool. Both really cool costumes, both looking super hot, which is great for them. I don't know why they gave Cinder, she's got these thigh high, it made me think of Bayonetta, because I play Bayonetta so much. It was she's got the Bayonetta thigh high boots on. Not a problem at all, but I think the full jet black costume legitimately just looks cooler for her. So I thought that was really sweet. I kind of want to see underneath the cloak, because that's always kind of been her thing, and she's always got a cloak on, and then there's some outfit underneath the cloak. Or it's, some element of her outfit is always a flowing element. And this time it's she's got the cloak covering up, of course, her grim arm. And then you have just a legitimate black outfit underneath. And she has a little bit of the feather still. So I was oh, that's a cool little touch from, way back in the beginning of the series. That was her thing. I think she had a feather in her hair, if I remember right. Or there was a feather somewhere. I feel she, all of her costumes, she's always had that feather, except for, of course, the beginning of this volume. But thought it was cool. We got to see new costumes. Neo shows off more of her powers where she changes the entire ship, so I thought that was cool. And she does it for a split second, but of course, they show as soon as she opens the door, that's when she releases her power. So obviously, if she's at full power and she's not in control of the ship and Cinder's flying, they can change the ship to make it look like whatever they need to, so they can sneak in potentially, I would assume, in the next volume, because they're headed to Atlas. So that's kind of the whole point of showing all right, once we get close enough, boom, no big deal, I can just change the ship and we can just fly along our way. So I thought that was super cool. They make a reference to Pyrrha where Cinder's someone once asked me if I believed in destiny. And it was interesting that they brought that up, because I was recently watching a video where someone talked about that, where it was what was that element of, why was that so important for Cinder, her believing in destiny? What was important about that? So I thought that was interesting that it came up in this episode. And then we cut to pretty much the part where, we kind of expected. RWBY goes for, the big silver eye blast. That was pretty much what happened. And it failed the first time, which was the big twist. So it's a minute twist, really. So that was cool. And then they show all these flashes, and they do it. I like the fact that they did it, and it was 2D animated form. So we get to see the dark moments first. So we go through stuff. We go through Pyrrha dying. We go through Penny dying. We go through all these crazy moments. It does start off some elements are good and stuff like that, and then she calls for Jin, which I thought was pretty sweet, and she basically uses that to slow down time. And I was well, that was really a smart way to do it. And then she goes through, and we see all the happier memories. So we get to see when Zwei first showed up, which I thought was really, really funny. That they put that in there. We actually got to see the lunchroom fight, which I thought was cool. We got to see the girls eating the ramen. We actually see them at the very end of volume 2 when they're sitting and kind of just looking at the sunset. So I was that's kind of cool, because that was way back in volume 2, but as soon as it popped up, I was oh, I remember that from the volume 2 finale. So it was cool, all the big scenes. And then of course it culminates in pretty much the coolest part about all the flashbacks and everything, and that's that we get a shot fully, and it's 3D and everything, of Summer. We see her turn around, we see her cloak and the wind's flowing, and we actually see her turn around. And we see her face, we see what she looks like and everything. And I was that's cool. So, unless I'm insane, that means we're going to get to see her in the next volume fully animated. Or this was just a really crazy one-off shot, one-off reason to do that, just to show it, this is her, connecting to her mother. And it's good memories, utilizing good memories instead of bad memories. So, I thought that was super cool. I think everyone feels the same way about that. That was just really freaking awesome. So, thought that was cool. She blasts Godzilla pretty much, and then it doesn't work, which I thought was going to lead to something cooler, admittedly. But then the woman whose name I still haven't even remotely bothered to remember, she comes in, and it turns out that the other arm has a drill, which I guess she just detached the arm. That was a big question that I had, because I was well, the drill wasn't out. So did she just pop the arm off, or did she have to rip it off? Because I'm I feel that would be a great safety maneuver. Or just be oh crap, boom, the arm's gone. I can use this other arm. Plus, it had the drill, and she didn't use the drill from the beginning, so that was a weird. There were a couple of weird things in the episode, but that was one of them that I thought of. Where I was like, well, did she drill the arm off? And if she did, why wouldn't she just run with it? But I guess I was thinking too much into it because I'm like, I guess maybe physics, she would be a little bit slower if this giant drill was hanging out, but a little random crap. So the thing is about to break out. It like partly breaks out, which I thought was cool. That was a nice little reveal because we hadn't seen that happen before, where anything turned to stone could break free. So they're frozen in place, which means that unless someone has destroyed this dragon right here, it could technically break out, I guess, over time. So I thought that was really interesting. And it was like, and this was like point blank range. So she froze it, but I guess the blast wasn't strong enough. It added a couple more questions. Like, so the blast can have different layers to things. Obviously, we've seen like with the apathy ones, since they're weaker Grim, they instantly get wiped out, but stronger Grim get frozen. But the blast can also be weak enough to where a stronger Grim will only be slightly frozen, but they're still alive underneath the stone. And I was like, a bunch of weird stuff there. But it comes, we get the drill, comes in, she kind of hits it, and just bores through it. It kind of made me think of BioShock because it was a drill going through something. I was kind of expecting like a bunch of blood, and I'm just like, that makes me think of BioShock. So she flies through it. Weird scene with the animation where the frames, they slowed down the frames. It looked like it was 100% 2D animation, which doesn't make sense because then there would be literally no reason for it to be slowed down. But I thought it was weird. I was like, why is it slowed down here? I guess something probably just didn't look right if they did it fast. But I was like, it's weird that it like slows down like that. And I don't know if it's because I'm watching it on my TV. Like, it's not through my laptop, it's like on my TV. But if anything, it should look smoother on my TV because it's actually at like 60 frames per second. So I don't know. I thought that was really weird. I was like, I don't know why that happened. But they defeat the monster. That's good. They go off to Atlas, and then pretty much nothing happens. And then we have the cool song, and then the ending scene. And it was like, cool. We get to see something interesting where Mercury looks super freaked out, and it's because Salem is making her gorillas with wings. And at first I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I realized, I was like, oh, it's the Wizard of Oz thing again, because she's the Wicked Witch, and she has all her flying monkeys, which I thought was really funny. But it was like, cool. And so now, seemingly, Salem is officially going to do it herself. And of course, that brings up the question that a bunch of people have had for a while, especially after this volume and knowing that she's completely immortal. Why didn't she do this anyway? And so they have to come up with an answer for that. But that's the good. And so now to some of the things I didn't like so much. First off, like I said, as a whole, this just wasn't an epic finale for me. The last couple episodes were far more entertaining because of me dealing with the whole Adam thing, and they, unfortunately for me at least, they killed him off. Which reminds me, to the commenter, Adam Torres, obviously not the character who commented on my last video. I didn't respond, but I was admittedly hoping. I was like, I was gonna be like, man, I haven't seen the finale yet, but I was kind of hoping for a really crappy moment, writing wise at least. It would have been real dumb, but I was like, I kind of hope that we see his body wash up somewhere, and then it's like, oh, they were headed to Atlas, the villains were, somebody found him, and then poof, he's just back to life somehow. That would have been really bad, but I still wanted it because I just want Adam to come back. So I was kind of hoping for that, and sadly it didn't happen. A lot more Bumblebee shipping. I know people have been upset about that. Some people have taken it way too far as like petitions and stuff. I get it being ham-fisted because it totally is. It's one of the things that I hate in television in general, where it's like they push ships so much. And I think I mentioned that in the premiere when they showed Ilya running up to Blake and they showed her feet, and they did that on purpose. And it's like that sort of stuff annoys me, even though I don't care at all about ships. That bugs me all the time because it's like, why bother doing that? Because there are people that care way more about it, and it still bugs me where it's just like, why bother doing that? Why make it seem like it's going to be something that it's not going to be? And if it's going to be something, just do the thing. Like, they're holding hands so much, and there's a scene where Ruby hugs Blake and she looks at Yang, and it's kind of like she realizes like, oh, they're in love now or something. And it's like, it kind of works, but it just feels so ham-fisted where it's like their whole connection is just them constantly holding hands. And I'm like, I guess that kind of makes sense that they wouldn't just jump straight to kissing. It does make sense. But I don't know. If anything, after you kill somebody who like one, destroyed you, mentally, and then the other person's been destroyed mentally because her arm was chopped off, that's like the perfect moment to kiss. Like, man, we totally stabbed that guy. Kiss. Not if they said it that way. I feel like that would work if it was like Jean and anybody else. I feel like that would work. It was like, man, we sure stabbed that guy, and then they kissed. It was like with Jean, I could see that happening, but with Blake and Yang, probably not. Even though Yang would be the one to say it, but still, it was just like, yeah, kind of ham-fisted, and it's just like I just wanted to just go to the next step. It's just like with Nora and Ren, I kind of wanted it to just already happen, especially with them because it had been forever. And it's just like it's so close. It's just not there, and it's so annoying because if they do something and then Blake does end up with Sun, all of that would just be even worse. It would be like super ham-fisted nothingness, and it's just like who knows. So we have to officially wait and see because honestly, at this point, unless people kiss or unless they do what Nora did when she's like, get away from my man, because we still don't see them kiss technically. Unless they have a line like that, I'm still like, man, we'll see what happens because I counted all as teasing until it's like official. Like it's just teasing. So I hope it becomes official real soon because otherwise this is all going to be real dumb. And then it'll be even worse that they killed Adam and they don't even end up together. So we'll see what happens there. But the little slightly extra ham-fisting, didn't enjoy it too much because like I said, I just wanted to just be like, just say like I love you or say anything. They didn't have to kiss. They could just say words. Anything would have been great. But that was there. Random inconsistency. The thing, like I said with the robots, like did she drill the arm off? Did it pop off? Whatever. Also, Blake's weapon, because they had their weapons like in the back of the ship, which I thought was kind of cool because we never see their weapons just like lying anywhere. I thought that was cool. And there's a scene where Blake's, I think it's like her full sword is there because I think they do show her sheath. And then I think there's another scene which may have just been a mistake and they just put the entirely wrong weapon in and they put like her katana in there. So it's like, okay, well that shouldn't have been there. Like the sheath, yeah, that she still had, but her katana shouldn't have been there, at least not fully formed. So I was like, okay, that was a bit of an inconsistency. Other little stuff was just like, the season and the volume ending in general, just not super epic. Basically the Godzilla creature. Also, this isn't an inconsistency, it's just dumb. It blew through the shields because it literally shot fire. I thought it was like, okay, it's going to overload the shields. That makes perfect sense. Like, it's meant to withstand a certain amount of power and pressure, and it's just blasting it at point-blank range with what we're not going to call atomic breath because that may or may not legally be designated to Godzilla. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's going to overcharge this one specific tiny little spot and it's going to zap all the energy in and then it'll like blow out the whole system. It'll short it for that first shield. Instead, it was just like, I'm just going to shoot fire. And there's like, oh, here's this stick. And it just hit the stick and it blew up. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing in the universe. Like, how is that any sort of protection from anything? I mean, I feel like, granted it was fire breath or whatever at point blank range, but I'm like, if that's the case, then they could have just shot it with a big missile and it would have destroyed the entire shield. Like they just hit a stick in any of these random sticks all around this big circle and it would have been destroyed. And I was like, that's a really dumb defense system. And it really sucked because it was like, oh, it's going to overload the system. And then it just went over and it blew the stick up and it destroyed the whole shield. And I was like, huh, okay. It would have been dumb no matter what. Even if it did blow up like just that one little square, it still would have been stupid. But it blew up the entire thing and just cut the whole connection. It was honestly, it's like their system for the whole planet where it was like, man, they blew up one tower. We can't call anybody. That's actually what that shield was. That was a great representation of their technology. It just all the way down to the bottom. If you hit one thing, the whole system falls. Apparently, that's just how everything works in the world of Remnant. So that I thought was super dumb. Like I said, with the creature breaking out, I thought that was going to lead to something cooler because I was thinking, oh, it didn't work 100%. Like she got it, but it wasn't a strong enough blast. So it can be in a weakened state. Maybe they like bash an arm off, kind of like they did in the premiere when Weiss freezes the wings on the Griffin. They freeze the wings and they shatter the wings, but they still have to deal with the rest of the creature. So I was like, okay, well, if they destroy its arms, even though technically all we saw it do, I mean, it did nothing really. I mean, it really had like 2 to 3 minutes, and it went under the water, it swam close, it came up, it did some fire breath, destroyed the shield, then it did another one. I think when it destroyed the shield, it like hit one of the towers, and that was it. And then RWBY flashed it, and then they drilled it when it was about to escape. And I was thinking, man, if it escaped and they still had to fight it, and she had to like blast it again without Jin's help, like she realized how to do it, and she was able to like conjure up, even if they didn't show like more memories or anything, like they didn't show Summer twice, it would have been cool if she had to do it again. And it's like, oh crap, they have to distract it and pull it away from the city and do whatever they can. or kind of tease it, because obviously they had the lantern, and then she would have to like blast it at point blank range again, but focus harder, and it would just completely turn into stone, and then they hit it before it's able to break out again. I thought that would have been a bit cooler, because it would have led to a bit more action, because I felt like there was basically no action during the actual sequence. Like, they didn't do anything, they flew towards it, and it was an interesting little moment, and I felt like it could have been really intense and very, very entertaining to watch Ruby have to do that, where she, focuses on like the hard times and then it switches to the good times. But it wasn't that big of a focus throughout the volume, so it didn't matter as much. It was like, this is definitely a big moment for her character to realize like she can use the happy moments. It doesn't have to be like, think about all the loss and stuff that you'd feel. She was able to use the good moments to channel that energy. And that's typically like a good thing for characters when they go from using sadness or anger to happiness. And it's like, okay, that's a good story beat, but it wasn't that big of a focus, so it wasn't as hardcore as it could have been for her character. So it was like, all right, well, still entertaining, still cool. Of course, seeing Summer was great. But yeah, it was like, oh, it was about to break out, and I thought they'd have a much bigger fight again, and then it just was like, nope, I got it. She drilled it, and it got erased away. And it was like, all right, well, that's done. And then they go to Atlas, and it's like, we've been expecting you. And that was the end. And I thought we'd at least see somebody. I thought they were going to land, because we had, I forgot admittedly that they do like a full 5-minute outro sequence for the finale. Like it's like an actual movie. They do like this super long credits. So I forgot like 3 full minutes. I'm like, well, I still have like 8 minutes left. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot there's like 8 minutes. 5 minutes of it is going to be the end credits. So they get to Atlas, and Atlas does look cool. I never realized it was a floating, it's the floating castle in the sky. So I thought that was super cool, and they have like the chains keeping it ground, and it's like smoke and stuff on the ground. It was very interesting. Like just that one glimpse, admittedly, was one of the cool parts of the finale, where it's like you see Atlas officially, because we know what it is and we know what it's like. But to see it where it's like there's the Crystal Palace literally in the sky, and it's literally just tethered to the ground, and there's just like the construction and all the crappiness literally on the ground underneath this floating city in the sky. And it was like, yeah, that's a great representation of the shitty stuff that goes on in Atlas. It's like the beautiful floating castle. It looked like crystal and stuff. I think it was 2D because it was in the background. And then just the horrible looking city on the ground. Or it wasn't like horrible looking, but it was like, it looked like it was the great city. And then just everything on the ground was just like labor and just crap. And just, it sucks, compared to the city in the sky. So I was like, that's a great visual representation, seeing like the full image of this entire place, and this is what it really looks like. So I thought that was good. I'm trying to go back to see like 100% exactly what it looked like. But yeah, that was pretty much all that happened. The ending, like I said, was cool. One thing I noticed that I thought was very weird, seeing the ending of this episode made me think of the extra clip from the last volume, which was totally pointless. It was literally nothing. It was like we saw Raven go back to Ty, and we never saw that pop up. Like, I was like, I hope that shows up in the finale. And then it didn't. And I was like, well, that really was a waste of an extra scene. Like, it was already a crappy scene anyway. Like, everyone said the same thing. Like, oh, she went to see him and nothing happened. And then it was like, okay, well, that doesn't even show up. We at least got to see Neo and Cinder, because I honestly didn't expect them to show up at all. So I was surprised that they came in. I was like, well, at least that was cool. But we didn't get any of the stuff with Raven. We didn't get any of the stuff with Ty. And it was just like, okay, that's it. And then, of course, yeah, so it was just like smoke. It's like a volcano, actually. It looks like they bore into the ground and it's just smoke coming up. But yeah, the ending scene for this one, we see the villains, and it's like, oh, Salem's about to do it herself. And then she does like the teleporting. I guess they teleport it. I don't know where they're supposed to be going. Like, it will pop up in the next volume, and she did nothing, which would be funny. But I guess they teleport it. I guess that's the thing she can do, which will really beg the question, why wasn't she popping up all over the place? But, we'll see. Plot as it is, of course. But yeah, that is the volume. I'm kind of disappointed in this finale. I'm not disappointed in the volume itself. Stuff happened that I didn't like, particularly, it literally just Adam dying. Not even the Bumblebee extra shipping and all the ham-fistedness of that. Just legitimately Adam dying just sucks to me, because like I mentioned, I kind of wish his character was a hero solely based on the fact that I love watching him fight. And that's really it. Like, I just like him fighting. He had the coolest outfit to me originally when he was like in a full-on suit, which we still didn't get enough of. That's another thing. I was so glad we got that character short when he was in his original costume, because I'm like, he was in like 3 episodes. We didn't get enough of him in just the plain suit, which I thought looked super cool. But he's dead now, and somewhere in there they have to show the backstory of how he got that. I feel like that could potentially at least be some of the greatest writing, where it's like we see what made him that dark character, and that was part of the reason I mentioned like it makes sense to not kill the guy, because it's like, hey, all this stuff that people hate and all this stuff is like, sure, it can culminate in this crazy seemingly final battle, or it could be the final battle if he actually got redemption, but we need him alive because he has to tell that backstory to somebody. And I thought it would be weird if he was dead and someone else told his story for him, and that may or may not be what ends up happening. So who knows how things are going to play out for the next volume. Who knows what Salem is really going to end up doing. Who knows anything. It's RWBY. Things can just be super buck wild. I don't effing know anymore. But yeah, this volume, finale at least, disappointed for sure. I would have to say it's my least favorite finale as a whole, because all the other finales have been really good. The volume 1 finale was good. I can barely remember what the heck it was at this point. I don't know why. But I can't really remember. I was thinking about it before I did my review, so I remember I liked it when I finally remembered what the heck it was, but I remember liking it. Volume 2 finale was definitely good, even though that volume itself had a lot of stuff that didn't really happen. I'm still mad that Sun's actual team was in the opening, and they never show up. They technically show up in like a giant wide shot, but you never see them in the volume except for Neptune. But the Volume 2 ending was great. We got to see Team Coffee fight. We got Caffeine, which is still one of my favorite songs. Volume 3 was, I don't even need to say anything about that. Volume 4, even though you might not like it, Volume 4 had a really good ending, at least, with the Nucleavive, or whatever the heck that freaking thing was called. So at least that was cool. And I think it was technically in like 2 parts, but the backstory with Nora and Ren and how they officially met, Ren's semblance and stuff being revealed, and them fighting this creature that caused, two of our main characters so much pain. That was a great, finale. And then they go off to the city, and it's still like a bit of a sad ending. Volume 5, epic ending. Had some insanely epic fight sequences there. Still wish there was more Adam stuff even back then. But this one kind of comes up, and I was hoping for the epic fight, and I guess technically we got it. It was just cut up in the last 3 episodes. Like, those were the epic fight sequences, and then all that ended. And then it was just like, well, how do you top killing off a character in the finale? So I guess they should have, I don't know, maybe that's what they should have done, was just bump it back 1 episode and just kill Adam in the finale. At least that would have been something huge, because honestly, nothing happened. Like, we all knew that RWBY was going to use her silver eyes, and that was pretty much it. The craziest thing about it was that it failed the first time, and she had to call it, Jin in a saber, and that was pretty much it. So it's like, okay, cool. We did find out that Ozpin was the one that helped land the ship. That was another cool thing, because I was like, I thought that was going to be the moment it happened, and I may have mentioned that in my review. And then Oscar does reveal, like, he helped me out, and then he was gone. So it's like, maybe he is watching us the whole time. I don't really know 100%. But he was the one that actually helped him land the ship. So I was like, all right, that's cool that they revealed that later on. So it does bring up that question, which was validly brought up before, especially by Jean, where it's like, he could be watching us right now. We don't even know if this is actually even Oscar, like stuff like that. So I thought that was a cool little moment. I was like, all right, well, we'll see when he decides to pop back up again. But yeah, ultimately, I would say this is a bit of a disappointment, and it just wasn't epic. And that's honestly the main thing. It's the finale, and the last 3 episodes were way more epic, because it was like, what's going to happen with Adam? Is he going to live? Is he going to die? It was just that big question. That was really the main question that I had, because we knew they were going to, destroy the mech or stop it or whatever. And then we knew RWBY was going to use her silver eyes. But once you kill off Adam, that takes out like the giant question of what's going to happen next, because we all knew RWBY was going to use her eyes, and she does, and technically it still works. And then they leave. And that's legitimately it. Like, not much happens. They talk most of the episode. That's really it. They talk, and then they stop it, and then it's like, all right, cool. She doesn't think we're too bad anymore. She lets us go. We go to Atlas. That's it. 5 minutes of, the ending credits. And then we have Mercury freaking out, which I thought something even crazier was going to happen. I thought somebody was going to be dead. I don't know why the first thing in my head is like, somebody's dead. But he looks super freaked out, and he never looks freaked out. I thought somebody was dead. So, like the face he's making here, I was like, the face he's making, I feel, doesn't match her just bringing up gorillas and giving them wings. I was like, I feel like they're freaking out way more than they should be. Even though it was something new for them, I was like, that's not that crazy. I mean, she blew out the windows, in her room and stuff, and it was like, they left, and it was like, she's done some crazier stuff than, oh, let's bring up some monkeys and give them, give them wings. They looked like she was ripping somebody's flesh off. And I was like, oh, that's not that crazy. That's not too bad. But it was cool to see that, and maybe we'll see her go somewhere with the 2D teleporting move she had. That was another thing. I always forget to mention it. A lot of 2D animation in this volume, especially like as soon as Adam showed up, once it was the Adam's fight and them fighting the mech, the water splashing was 2D. The blast from the mech were 2D. Some of the stuff they did with Adam, like him falling in the water, I think was like the splash of the water was 2D. It was just random stuff I wanted to mention. I actually thought that was really cool. It's interesting to see it because it's so weird to see. And it was good too. It looked good too. I was like, it stands out even more because it's very fluid looking 2D animation. So it was always funny when it popped up because I'm like, oh, that looks so good. And it's beautiful looking 2D animation, but it's so weird to see it like wrapped in with all this 3D animation. Like her doing this thing, it looks so sweet. It looked like an anime with like the red kind of swelling up, and I was like, that looks really, really great. But it's so weird to see that with like the 2D animation wrapped right around it. But I still love it. But yeah, that's volume 6, which was only 13 episodes. I think this was 13 or 12. Yeah, 13 episodes, which I'm pretty sure is probably the shortest. I honestly can't remember how long the other volumes have been. I'll try to see really quick, but I just thought that was crazy. I was like, man, I feel like 13 is nothing, but I also don't remember. So I'll just hit volume 1 and see what that was. Not counting, of course, all the trailers and stuff popping up. The volume 1 was like 17 episodes. 16 episodes. And granted, even the finale was only 15 minutes back then. So technically, overall, the first volume is still shorter, but still pretty cool. And now I remember the volume 1 finale. It was one of my favorite things ever because it was Sun when he like first used his nunchucks and he was like shooting against Roman. Still one of my favorite scenes ever because that's just like the coolest thing. So yeah, loved all the volume finales because you get those epic fights, and they just used it like they cut the fight 1 episode early, and it was like, why didn't they just expand that? They could have just kept the fight going, even if they didn't do anything with RWBY stuff, and it was exactly the same. At least the other half still would have been the Atom stuff, and then it could have just been like, all right, well they have to find Blake and Yang, and it's like, oh hey, we're here, cool, let's leave. Like it wouldn't matter because that's exactly what happened. They popped up and then they skipped over them telling the story, and that's all they had to do. And they could have just done the exact same thing. They kill Adam, and then they go meet up with the rest of the characters. Because I feel like they talk so much, nothing actually happened. It was like, I have a plan. We can do this. We can do that. And they just talked. They could have cut that down to nothing. It was like, I got a plan. Go back to the Adam stuff. Especially considering we all knew, once again, the Silver Eye stuff. So it was like, just cut to the cool Adam segment. They kill Adam. Very sad moment for me. And then it's like, all right, well, at least that was epic in the finale. And then the failure of the first blast, like it doesn't work, and then she actually does the blast the second time, and then they leave. And it was like at least something really big and unexpected, because we didn't know the Atom stuff would have happened. But this is just like, all right, cool, she did that thing that I knew she was going to do. Twist, she failed the first time, but no real danger. She slowed down time. Cool move. And then that was it. And just some stuff happened. They talked about what they did, and then they left, and then that was it. So, ultimately disappointing. And so I guess that's my tiny rant on the finale of this season. Still love the season. Obviously, last 3 episodes, even though they killed Adam, super sad. Loved it. I love the action. The premiere was really great. The apathy creatures, still super cool. Creepy and amazing. Obviously, the backstory episode was great. Seeing the Grim Reaper in action, that was a great scene. And I mentioned before in that episode, it sucked that they did such a sweet character, and it was like, that's what she used to be. And I was like, I still would love it if they just did like a special where it was like just her in the past for like 1 movie. I think that'll be the coolest thing. Just her fighting for an hour. Just a special 30-minute episode of her in the past. That would just be sweet. But it was like, that's the only one of the minor disappointments of the volume for me. It was like, man, such a sweet design, but that's all I think we'll ever get. We might get another flashback, but it's like, that sucks because that was so fun to watch her fight. But all in all, I still enjoyed the volume. I think they did some really good stuff with it. I don't know. I feel like I kind of like this one more than even the last volume, and I don't know if that's me still kind of being on the high of the last couple of episodes because I loved them so much, and the opening for this volume was really action packed and it was really well done action, and the song was good. I mean, the songs are always good, but the action was really good, and some just every couple of episodes it was like something really great would happen. I felt at least. Even if we didn't know or if it wasn't like the biggest story ever, like them doing the creepy episode, it was really well done. And it was like this crazy little thing where it worked. That was a really good horror, creepy horror episode for them. The premiere, like I said, was good. Obviously, the backstory episode was fantastic. The last couple episodes, at least the action was great. If you didn't like the story elements of it and the way they did things with Adam, at least the action was good. Specifically Adam stuff, because it's just, that's perfection every time. But yeah, the finale wasn't the best, but I still loved the volume. At least they got where they were going. It didn't take them, it wasn't volume 4. So you can look at it that way. That's not saying much. I didn't crap on volume 4 like everybody else did, but when you look at it as a whole, it really didn't do that much. Like, they had some great scenes in there, because I'm pretty sure that's when they fight Tyrion was in 4. So there's some cool stuff in there for sure, but for the most part, it was like, man, everybody's just not meeting up or doing anything super epic. So it's just like, that's just kind of how Volume 4 was. Just like, But this was better. This was, I thought, way better. So I'm excited for Volume 7. We'll see what they do with it. Who knows when it'll be coming out. If it'll be a longer season, if it'll be a shorter season. Well, hopefully no shorter than 12. I think 12 is at least a good length for them. Or 13. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the volume as a whole. For now, I might actually do a video on this volume. Considering they killed off Adam, I think I'm going to do just some of my favorite moments from this volume and least favorite moments. And kind of summing things up. I feel like we're getting into the next big arc. Especially because we, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. So I think we are going into our next big arc with 7. Now that they've gotten the Atlas and they've gotten their secrets. And Salem is seemingly about to do something on, of her own accord. So I think we are getting officially into like the next sort of trilogy of arcs where it's like, all right, everyone's done their separate journeys. They've gone through their anxiety attacks. They've defeated their old mental problems in the form of stabbing a dude. And so now they've gotten to their destination, and Salem's super pissed and she wants to take on things, for herself. We have Cinder and Neo coming back to do their thing. So we're kind of going into what seems like a very progressive arc where it should be like everyone's kind of on the move. Like, aside from the main characters being at Atlas, everyone's kind of moving in on them. And I feel like that should potentially lead to another even more grandiose version of the Beacon attack, where it's like Salem's doing it, Cinder and Neo have teamed up to do their own thing. Who knows what that means as far as the triangle of people fighting each other. So some questions there, but hopefully it's kind of forward moving and we see some good action from it. But those are my thoughts on the finale. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. Of course, thoughts on the volume as a whole, good, bad, ugly, everything that you're thinking about it. And obviously I want to know your predictions and just what you guys want to see going into Volume 7. I assume RWBY Chibi is going to be coming up soon enough. Who knows if we'll be getting some hints towards some stuff from the next volume or references from this volume. We'll probably end up seeing, I don't know how they, a cheapy version of Maria. I don't know if they would mess around with that and make her like super tiny, which I think would be the funniest joke ever. But yeah, RWBY Chibi should be coming up. On to Genlock, by the way, because that did premiere. I just haven't had the chance to watch it, which is why this review is so late. I was gone all day, so I was just mad the whole day. Like, man, I didn't get to play Resident Evil 2. I didn't get to watch the finale of RWBY, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning right now. So it's like I got to do everything was like super late. So I might have my Genlock review up tomorrow night, but I am looking forward to checking that out. So ended RWBY, started Genlock, and so that'll be coming up, and I'll be doing weekly reviews for that if I like the show. I assume I will, but we'll see how it all ends up playing out. But like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this volume finale. So please put your comments down in the comment section below, and of course, thanks for watching.